And joining us now with more on the latest developments of the arrest of the pro-Hamas student at Columbia and the ongoing anti-Semitism across U.S. campuses is Michal Cotler-Wunsch, Israel's Special Envoy for Antisemitism. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on, Lida.
So we've all seen the anti-Semitic attacks on Jews on campuses around the United States, and Columbia University seems to be really at the forefront, both in terms of its students and faculty and their sort of anti-Semitic behavior, but also in that the university has done practically nothing to try and curtail this and ensure a safe environment for its Jewish students. You know, why is it, do you think, that the university has done so little? I mean, is this a calculated decision, or has the issue of anti-Semitism simply gotten so out of control?
So we have to be very, very clear in reminding that anti-Semitism is a symptom. It is a symptom that is historically the most reliable sign of what threatens humanity and freedom and the dignity of difference. It's not just about anti-Semitism, if you will. Anti-Semitism is a manifestation of something much, much deeper, including in university spaces. We know that there have been billions of foreign-funded dollars, including Qatari dollars, poured into Columbia University and others as well. We understand that what we are seeing now are just symptoms. And yes, including the most recent student visa violation of, existing policies by supporting what is a designated terror organization in the United States of America, i.e. Hamas. This is just symptomatic, and we should be seeing on the streets of New York City, presumably, the demonstrations that protest against the support of Hamas and other designated terror organizations. Instead, what we have seen, including in Columbia University, is precisely the opposite. We have seen systematically the support of terror organization feigning, or in the name of human rights and progressive values, that actually, when you don't have to do very much to strip the surface, you can find the very same individuals, including the specific individual we're speaking about now, calling to explode the head of Zionists, just code for Jew, on those very campuses, streets, online, and elsewhere.
And so now, what do you make of the arrest of Mahmoud Khalil, who's led the anti-Israel and anti-West protests at Columbia?
It's very important for me that we actually focus on the fact that what he has done is violate the policies not just of Columbia University, but of the United States of America, not just in what is represented by his systematic and systemic anti-Semitism that he codes as anti-Zionism, but in fact in violating the policies of the university. We have to remember, this is not about speech, it's about conduct. This is an individual that was involved in grave injury, including to university employees, in taking over buildings physically. That's conduct, not speech.
And, is arresting and deporting these pro-terror students, obviously it's a welcome and you could argue necessary policy, but is it enough to put an end to the anti-Semitism on U.S. campuses?
Devastatingly, first of all, we have to be very clear. A policy has to be applied equally and consistently. If there is a policy for those holding student visas that have been violated, we must act in the same way to everybody, equally and consistently. That's the first order of business. That's where the due process will come in, and a court of law will decide if indeed the student visa has been violated. And your question is very important, because that will not, devastatingly, end what we have seen as a systematic infiltration, including to Columbia. And I began with a foreign funding that has systematically actually enabled, for example, a professor who was exhilarated and celebrated the October 7th massacre to teach a course on Zionism at the very same Columbia University. We understand that there is a long, very, very long, decades of a process that has, with blood libel, for 50 years, including in international institutions, in academic spaces, in online spaces, turned Zionism into racism, blood libel #1, turned Israel into an apartheid state, blood libel number 2, and after the 2023 massacre, in the most Orwellian inversion of fact and of law, turned into Israel into a state that is a genocidal state that perpetrates a Holocaust. We have to be very clear on the fact that these are just the reactive whack-a-mole responses that we are able to identify and remove the threats or the national security threats, including to democratic spaces, including to the United States, including to Columbia University, but they will not put an end to the systematic infiltration of anti-Semitism, as what I began with. The most reliable sign of a major threat to humanity and freedom and the dignity of difference. And we can only do that by comprehensively identifying and combating all strains of what is an ever-mutating lethal hate.
So still a lot of work to be done to root out anti-Semitism, a threat to all of humanity. Michal Cotler-Wunsch, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me.